Hello friends, welcome to Crown Grow channel. Today we are going to read about these topics. Book 2 People. 1. Way to say no. 2. You are who you spend time with. 3. Comparing ourselves to others. Book 3 Purpose. 4. In search of meaning. 5. What's your life about? 6. Finding your purpose. 7. Practice presence and happiness. Let's start. Ways to say no. It is not a crime to say no. Your friends and family will understand. They will still care about you, even when you cannot make certain social engagements. And if your friends do not get it, it is probably time to find new friends. When we truly care about someone, we will still care about them if they miss an activity. Besides, when it comes to a job, say no to everything that is not essential to your work. People will respect you for doing your job and not wasting time on meetings and coffee breaks. 1. The indirect no. Starting to say no can be awkward. Most people prefer to start with an indirect approach. In your personal life, you can say, "Look, I want to join you for drinks, but I have to work on this project because it is important to me." When you start saying no more often, it is fine to make excuses so that you avoid saying yes. That is the primary goal when you start saying no. You do not want to do something, so find a way to say no without feeling uncomfortable. 2. The let me get back to you. We are often caught off guard with invitations or requests from people. We feel the pressure to answer those requests immediately. Next time you are caught off guard, often by phone or in person, tell them, "I just have to look at my calendar, let me get back to you about that." Alternatively, we can say that we have to discuss it with our spouse or family before we can answer. 3. The conditional yes. You do not always have to say no. When your boss asks you to collect information before the end of the day, you cannot say no to that. What we can do is to force our boss to prioritize. If you work in sales, for example, you can say, "I can give you the information, but that means that I cannot make the 10 calls we agreed on today. Is that all right?" With this conditional yes, we force people to prioritize. It shows that you have other things on your plate. 4. The direct no. Once you are comfortable with saying no more often, you can take the ultimate step in mastering saying no. We give people excuses for why we cannot do something. We say that we cannot have lunch because of a doctor's appointment. We feel socially awkward just to say, "I cannot make lunch this week." When you have mastered saying no, you stop giving excuses and start to say no firmly. Practice makes perfect. You are who you spend time with. Jim Rohn, a successful entrepreneur and author, said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. By now, this is common knowledge. It has also proved to be a common belief for many of the greatest minds. For instance, successful people like Tim Ferriss, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk have all mentioned in interviews that you should be picky with whom you spend your time. Human beings are social animals, and people have a massive impact on us. When you spend time with people who are negative, you will become negative as a result. Even if you are the biggest optimist in the universe, when you spend enough time with 5 pessimists, they will fill your mind with their pessimism. Ever pitched an idea to a friend or family member, and they said, "Well, I do not know about that." They might say, "How are you going to get the money to do that?" Or, "How are you going to do this or that?" They will always find a reason not to do something. When confronted with problems, pessimists will also focus on why the problem occurred, instead of concentrating on the solution. Asking yourself, "Why did this happen to me?" will not help you. A pessimist will always find a reason why something went wrong. Optimists, on the other hand, will encourage you. One great example of an optimist is Arnold Schwarzenegger. When Arnold auditioned for the role as Conan, the casting directors asked him whether he could ride a horse. He answered with a firm yes. In fact, Arnold did not know how to ride a horse. Nevertheless, he got the role, and he learned how to ride a horse in time before they started shooting the film. If you would go to an optimist with an idea or a problem, they would encourage you to chase that idea or to find a solution to your problem. Comparing ourselves to others. On some level, we all want people to like us. Some even think it is their purpose to be liked by everyone. However, if you truly want to be free of fear, do not care about social approval or whether people like you or not. We are all unique, and from that point of view, comparing ourselves does not make sense. Everyone believes in the expression, "You cannot compare apples with oranges." However, when it comes to ourselves, we seem to throw the expression out of the window and compare ourselves to people on a daily basis. For instance, we compare our car to the neighbor's car. We also compare our haircut, our clothes, our credit card, and our status. We constantly benchmark ourselves. We see these things other people have and think we are not good enough because we do not have a platinum card, a Porsche, a $200 haircut, Christian Louboutin shoes, or anything else someone might have. All these things do not shape our characters and do not define us. They are merely food for our ego. Do not measure yourself by these things. The way to keep yourself from this type of stress is to be driven by intrinsic motivation instead of extrinsic. Most people are motivated by external factors, which is not surprising. From an early age, we are influenced by our environments. Most people even build their whole life around external factors. This is also one of the reasons we fear to be different. When you are driven by intrinsic factors, you have no benchmarks anymore. You have no one to compare yourself to. No salary, bonus, or car from your competitor that you can measure yourself against. This does not mean that we should never look at others. In fact, I encourage you to observe other people in order to learn, be inspired, or get motivated by them. Think about what you value in life and pursue that. Making small or big decisions based on external factors is the recipe for disaster. Similarly, you should not automatically copy other people's behavior. The following is essential in this context. If you see yourself as a unique person, it is impossible to compare yourself to anyone else. You are not better or worse than anyone on this planet. If successful people compared themselves, they would be miserable as well. We all have shortcomings or do not achieve greatness in every field in life. Elon Musk is one of the most influential people on this planet, but he is not as powerful as the President of the United States. LeBron James is one of the best basketball players of all time, but compared to Albert Einstein, he is not good in physics. Comparing yourself in this way is a bad idea. Do not focus on your shortcomings. On the other hand, comparing can be a great thing sometimes. If you want to compare yourself, do it for the right things. Never be disappointed when you compare yourself to others. Instead, look at other people's achievements, work ethic, or motivation to learn from them. However, if you feel you fall short, do not feel demoralized. Great people often look at other people to learn, especially when it comes to skills they want to develop. However, be aware of comparing yourself on numbers. For instance, do not compare your Twitter followers to someone else's. No one cares about those things but your ego. Purpose. To enjoy good health, to bring true happiness to one's family, to bring peace to all, one must first discipline and control one's own mind. If a man can control his mind, he can find the way to enlightenment, and all wisdom and virtue will naturally come to him. Buddha. What is purpose? What is meaning? Do we need it? By finding out our unique life's purpose, we can live a life that is full of substance. Having purpose strengthens our intrinsic motivation, which will help us to live a tranquil life. When we achieve freedom from fear, stress, and anxiety, we can live a joyous life. We are too often cynical and pessimistic. By learning to practice joy, we will be happier in our life and relationships. In search of meaning, those who have a why to live can bear with almost anyhow. Viktor E. Frankl. It is difficult for most of us to talk about our purpose, since we often do not know what that is. Many thinkers have spent a great deal of time thinking, reading, meditating, and writing about how purpose is defined. One good book on this topic is from Viktor E. Frankl, a Nazi camp survivor. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl writes about his time in a Nazi concentration camp. He explains why some prisoners of the Nazi regime struggled and others survived. Frankl used his experiences to create his psychological theory, logotherapy. This treatment emphasizes how we can survive all circumstances in life, as long as we have a personal meaning of life. Frankl believes that the search for meaning is the greatest driver in our life. This gives the journey to finding your meaning importance as well. It is not the destination that matters, but it is the journey that is vital in our lives. Research from the Johns Hopkins University also confirmed this. Students were asked what they considered to be central in their lives. 78% mentioned that finding a purpose and meaning in life was most important to them. Frankl warns us that if we give up on finding meaning, or believe that there is no meaning to be found, we will live in an existential vacuum. This state leaves you feeling like your life has no meaning and is hollow. Unfortunately, more and more people live their lives in an existential vacuum these days. We get bored quickly in our modern world where we have so much spare time. During the Industrial Revolution, people worked at least 12 hours a day. When the workers returned home in the evenings, they were tired, and all they wanted to do was rest. Now we have more time than ever, and we do not know what to do with all the spare time. We get comfortable in our lives and spend evenings watching TV shows and live for the weekends. People are always looking for ways to kill time. Another side effect of boredom is that we start imitating other people. When you imitate others, you will find that your life is utterly devoid of substance. If the single reason you are doing something is because someone else is doing it, it is time to rethink your life. Time is your most valuable currency in life, so spend it wisely. Imitating others is the way a poor man spends his time. This is why people who are working on their passion say they did not take a holiday in years. These people often work 7 days per week. However, for them it is not perceived as work, so they never get bored. It is their life's work, and they are working to realize their personal meaning. You will see that if you find your meaning, all you want to do is spend time on things that will fulfill your purpose. What's your life about? Everyone on this planet has a purpose. Our job is to find out what that is. Some people are destined to be great mothers or fathers. Some people are destined to be artists. Others are intended to help the less fortunate ones. We do not have to be world leaders to make an impact on people's lives. As a voluntary worker in a third world country, you will help more people than any individual who sits at home, playing video games. However, you can give meaning to playing video games, as long as you are entertaining the world with your videos on YouTube, for example. It also proves to be a good source of making money. The point is that everyone gives a different meaning to his or her life. Frankl says that one way to discover our personal meaning in life is by creating a life's work. You can give your life meaning by focusing on a goal. Many people think of names such as Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, or Stephen Hawking when it comes to life's work. It is a good thing to look up to these people for inspiration. However, most people see their own life's work and say, "I am not Steve Jobs or anything." With this way of thinking, you are comparing yourself to others. Your life's work can be raising your children in the best way possible. Your life's work can be to inspire children to read literature as a teacher. Your life's work can be writing children's books. No one expects you to cure cancer. However, if you feel like you can, do not think you cannot find a cure. Simply look at what you value most in life and make that your life's work. When it comes to finding our purpose, some people argue that you first need a purpose to make the right decisions in life. I do not agree with this notion, since how we act towards finding our meaning is more important than having a meaning. It is impossible to find a general meaning of life, for the purpose of your life depends on your decisions. So why do you exist? If you do not know, that is great. Start giving meaning to finding your purpose. If you do know why you are here, that is also great. Spend every waking minute on your life's work. Finding your purpose. Remember, purpose is a decision. No one is born with a purpose. It's something we decide. Here's a question for you. What are you? I'm not talking about your job title. What's your life about? Answer that, and you will have your purpose. But most of us don't have the answer to that simple question. We tend to overcomplicate things. But it's actually very simple. Will Smith put it best when he was asked about this subject in an interview. Just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Decide, go out, do it, and don't look back. If you lack inspiration and can't answer that question, you need more input. You can't expect to get output, purpose without input. You don't know your purpose because you're not aware of it. That's all. Don't make things more complicated than they are. And don't try to force it to come out of you. Here are 2 ways to stimulate input. 1. Expose yourself to different things. Read about stuff you've never considered. Travel. Hang out with different people. The more you broaden your mind, the more information you get. New ideas are a blend of existing different ideas that you're exposed to. 2. Manage stress and anxiety. Chronic stress and anxiety prevent your mind from thinking in a clear, focused, and a relaxed way. Those are key ingredients of getting new insights. So before you think about finding your passion, deal with stress and anxiety first if you're having a lot of it. Instead of consciously thinking about your purpose, you can try an indirect approach. Just realize that your purpose is inside of you, it's just afraid to expose itself. You must trust that someday it will seemingly appear out of nowhere. When that day comes, do a happy dance, celebrate, whatever, but the next day, wake up and start working on your purpose. Practice, presence and happiness. If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. Chinese proverb. Happiness is a skill. Mastering that skill starts with managing your thoughts. People believe that you cannot influence your thoughts. Do you think about the past all the time? You're not the only one. In fact, most people's thoughts are similar to cinemas that play old movies over and over again. What will you accomplish by replaying a nasty breakup in your mind? Or that one time when your manager yelled at you? that is in the past, and you cannot do anything about it. Similar to influencing negative emotions, such as anger, regret, and frustration, you can control joy as well. We think that our emotions determine our mood. That is only true to a certain extent. It is also true that we influence our emotions by our thoughts. So this goes hand in hand, and it means that you can control joy by thinking and acting happy. Some people are always cynical and believe that being happy is for children or naive people. They are utterly sad and often argue that they are being realistic instead of pessimistic. Remember, the goal of life is to live a happy life. Being cheerful makes life 10x better than it is. Next time, when a negative person or a bad situation confronts you, do not worry about it for too long. Instead, always focus on the positive things. Even if you are in a situation you do not enjoy, try to think of something you do like about that situation. For example, when you lose a loved one, think of all the beautiful memories you have of that person. When you are stuck in traffic, which causes you to miss an important meeting, enjoy some of your favorite music or listen to an audiobook in your car. There are many things in life you simply cannot influence. So instead of worrying about them, see the good in bad situations. Being negative is easy, and everyone can be cynical. However, staying positive is more difficult and requires persistence. When we adopt a positive mindset for our life, we start creating our reality. Using positive thoughts makes us strong, while negative thoughts make us weak. Dealing with obstacles becomes easier when you believe that there is always a solution, regardless of the severity of your situation. If you think you cannot find a solution, chances are you will be unsuccessful. However, when we commit to a positive mindset, we empower ourselves, which eliminates fear, stress, and anxiety from our lives. Thanks for watching.